Over the course of the last few years, a voluminous collection comprising thousands of pages of previously sealed court documents has been formally released to the public in connection with the complex legal proceedings involving Jeffrey Epstein, the wealthy financier who passed away while in federal custody in 2019, while awaiting trial on serious charges related to sex trafficking. Within the extensive list of individuals identified in these publicly accessible archives are the names of prominent corporate titans, distinguished academics, renowned scientists, and major philanthropists, some of whom maintained professional or social ties to Epstein during various distinct phases of his life. One specific individual whose inclusion has generated a significant amount of public scrutiny and widespread discourse is Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft and arguably one of the globe's most visible and influential philanthropic figures through his work with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This documentary presentation intends to rigorously examine exactly what is substantiated within the public records, carefully distinguishing what has been formally officially confirmed from what currently resides in the murky territory of unproven allegation or mere speculation. Our primary objective is not to engage in sensationalism, but rather to painstakingly review the information that is verifiable and available to the general public, thereby allowing us to comprehend the broader context in which these connections occurred. The narrative we are exploring today involves the complex and often overlapping worlds of high finance, advanced technology, scientific funding, and large-scale philanthropy. It is a narrative that has been documented through preserved emails, detailed meeting records, flight logs, court testimonies, and extensive journalistic investigations conducted by reputable news organizations. It is crucially important to establish from the very outset that this video presentation does not make any accusations of criminal behavior. It does not claim to possess knowledge regarding the private thoughts or the internal intentions of any specific individual. What it does is present what has been documented in the public record, distinguish between confirmed facts and unproven allegations, and provide context for understanding how these connections came to light. The information we will discuss comes from court documents unsealed as part of civil litigation, investigative reporting by outlets such as the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and statements made by the individuals involved. Let us begin by understanding who Jeffrey Epstein was and why his connections have become a matter of public scrutiny. Jeffrey Epstein was a financier who aggressively cultivated and maintained extensive relationships with influential figures spanning the sectors of business, high-level politics, elite academia, and the scientific community. He consistently curated a public image as a dedicated patron of scientific inquiry and higher education, directing donations toward prestigious universities and organizing gatherings that convened Nobel laureates, technology, entrepreneurs, and government policymakers. However, this carefully constructed public persona served to conceal a reality of serious criminal conduct. In the year 2008, he entered a guilty plea to state-level charges in Florida pertaining to the solicitation of prostitution from a minor. He subsequently served a sentence of 13 months in a county jail facility, a period of incarceration that was characterized by a highly controversial work release arrangement. In July of 2019, Epstein was arrested once again, this time facing federal charges related to the sex trafficking of minors. He was accused of operating a vast network that recruited and abused underage girls at his properties located in New York, Florida, and various other locations. 1 month later, Epstein died in his jail cell. The medical examiner ruled his death a suicide. Following his death, numerous civil lawsuits were filed by survivors seeking accountability. As part of these proceedings, thousands of pages of documents, including depositions, emails, and flight logs, were unsealed. These documents revealed the extent of Epstein's social and professional network and raised questions about what various individuals knew about his conduct. Bill Gates first made the acquaintance of Jeffrey Epstein in the year 2011, which was notably several years following Epstein's 2008 conviction. This specific chronology has been explicitly confirmed by Gates himself, as well as through investigative reporting conducted by the New York Times, which successfully secured relevant emails and conducted interviews with former employees of both individuals. According to these investigative reports, the relationship was fundamentally centered around the spheres of philanthropy and the funding of scientific endeavors. Epstein presented himself as someone who could facilitate connections with wealthy donors and scientists. he expressed interest in working with the Gates Foundation on global health initiatives. During the period spanning from 2011 to 2014, Gates engaged in meetings with Epstein on multiple separate occasions. A number of these in-person interactions occurred at Epstein's townhouse, located in Manhattan. Gates also traveled aboard Epstein's private aircraft on at least one documented occasion in 2013, flying from New Jersey to Palm Beach, according to the flight records. According to emails reviewed by the New York Times, Epstein believed he was developing a working relationship with Gates. In one specific email correspondence from 2011, Epstein wrote to a colleague regarding his involvement with the Gates Foundation, although the exact nature of any formal collaboration remains unclear. It is crucially important to explicitly note what is not alleged within any segment of the public record. There exists absolutely no allegation or evidentiary support suggesting that Bill Gates participated in or possessed knowledge of Epstein's criminal conduct. Furthermore, there is no claim found within any court document asserting that Gates participated in any form of illegal activity. What is factually documented is the existence of a professional and social relationship that Gates himself would later characterize as a significant mistake. In various interviews conducted subsequent to the public reporting regarding his meetings with Epstein, Bill Gates has addressed the nature of the relationship directly. During a notable 2021 interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper, Gates acknowledged having met with Epstein multiple times and stated unequivocally that he regretted doing so. Gates explained that the meetings were focused on philanthropy, specifically the possibility of raising money for global health causes. He stated that Epstein claimed to have connections to wealthy individuals who might be interested in funding such work. Gates emphasized that he did not have a business partnership with Epstein, did not socialize with him extensively, and did not travel to Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. He also stated that once it became clear that Epstein's philanthropic claims were not materializing, the relationship ended. In that same interview, Gates said, "I made a mistake in judgment in thinking that those discussions would lead to something substantive in terms of funding for global health." Melinda French Gates, who was married to Bill Gates at the time these meetings with Epstein occurred and who later divorced him in 2021, has also spoken publicly regarding this matter. In her interviews, she has expressed a deep sense of discomfort regarding her then-husband's decision to meet with Epstein, describing her own distinct concerns about Epstein's character and his reputation. To comprehend why an individual of Bill Gates's stature, or indeed any of the dozens of prominent scientists, academics, and business leaders, might have engaged with Jeffrey Epstein, it is necessary to understand Epstein's strategy. Epstein positioned himself as a connector and benefactor within elite scientific and academic circles. He donated money to Harvard, MIT, and other institutions. He hosted salons and dinners where leading thinkers discussed cutting-edge research. He claimed to be interested in funding ambitious projects in neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and public health for individuals focused on solving global problems, whether through technology, medicine, or philanthropy. Epstein presented himself as someone who could open doors and facilitate funding. He was skilled at leveraging his wealth and social access to gain proximity to influential people. Many of those who interacted with Epstein have since expressed regret. Some have stated they were unaware of the full extent of his criminal history. Others have acknowledged that they made errors in judgment by associating with him even after his 2008 conviction. This broader pattern does not excuse individual decisions, but it does help explain how Epstein maintained a network of connections despite his criminal record. The court documents, unsealed in recent years, part of a civil lawsuit filed by Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine Maxwell, contain thousands of pages of depositions, emails, flight logs, and witness statements. Bill Gates is mentioned in some of these documents, primarily in the context of meetings and correspondence. However, the mentions are factual in nature, recording dates of meetings or noting his presence at events also attended by others in Epstein's social circle. Importantly, there are no allegations in these documents accusing Gates of wrongdoing. No testimony claims he engaged in illegal activity. No witness statement places him at locations where abuse occurred. What the documents do show is that Gates was among many prominent individuals who had contact with Epstein during the period after his 2008 conviction. This fact alone has raised public questions about judgment and accountability, particularly given Epstein's known criminal history at that time. The Unsealed files also reveal the broader scope of Epstein's connections, including scientists, professors, politicians, and business executives, many of whom were similarly seeking funding, collaboration, or access to influential networks. In the age of social media, allegations and speculation can spread quickly, often without supporting evidence. It is important to distinguish between what is documented and what is rumor or conspiracy theory. Some online narratives have suggested elaborate conspiracies involving the Gates Foundation and its global health work. These theories lack credible evidence and often misrepresent the nature of documented connections. For example, some have claimed that Gates's relationship with Epstein was tied to illicit activities, or that the Gates Foundation's work in vaccine distribution is somehow connected to Epstein's network. These claims are not supported by any court document, investigative journalism, or credible source. What is true is this: Bill Gates met with Jeffrey Epstein multiple times between 2011 and 2014. The meetings were focused on philanthropy. Gates has publicly acknowledged these meetings and expressed regret. There is no evidence of illegal conduct by Gates in any public record. Separating fact from speculation is essential to understanding this story accurately. The unsealing of court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein has provided the public with a clearer picture of his network and the individuals who interacted with him. Among those individuals is Bill Gates, whose meetings with Epstein have been documented through emails, flight records, and journalistic investigation. What is confirmed is that Gates met with Epstein multiple times between 2011 and 2014. The meetings focused on philanthropy and potential fundraising. Gates flew on Epstein's plane at least once. Gates has publicly acknowledged the relationship and called it a mistake. Melinda French Gates expressed discomfort with the connection. What is not alleged in any public record is also clear. There is no allegation that Gates engaged in illegal activity. There is no evidence Gates had knowledge of Epstein's ongoing criminal conduct. There is no testimony placing Gates at locations where abuse occurred. The broader lesson from this story is about judgment, accountability, and the importance of scrutinizing the associations of powerful individuals, particularly when those individuals claim to act in the public interest. The Gates Foundation continues its work in global health funding, vaccine distribution, disease eradication, and educational initiatives. The questions raised by Gates's association with Epstein have not derailed that work, but they have prompted important public conversations about ethical decision-making and transparency. As more documents may be unsealed in the future and as ongoing investigations continue, the public record may evolve. For now, what we know is based on verified information from court filings, reputable journalism, and statements from the individuals involved. Understanding complex stories like this one requires careful attention to evidence, context, and the distinction between fact and allegation. Our aim has been to present the documented information clearly, without exaggeration or speculation. The narrative of Jeffrey Epstein's network is ultimately a story concerning power, access, and the systemic failures of institutions and individuals to act upon visible warning signs. It serves as a stark reminder that public figures, no matter how accomplished or philanthropic they may be, must be held to high standards of judgment and accountability. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. All information is based on publicly available court records and reputable news reports. No unverified claims or allegations are presented as facts.